Hello everyone, Luke here from Outside Extra. I'm with Jane from
Good
Outside
afternoon.
Xbox. Good afternoon, Jane. We have just seen a whole lot of gameplay of Anthem, which is the new BioWare game. It looks very exciting, but there's one game that it immediately brings to mind, inevitably, and that is Destiny, because it is a big online shooter where you are in a spacesuit and you shoot aliens and numbers come out.
It's a shared world sci-fi shooter,
That's
so
right.
the comparisons are inevitable.
Yeah, and you also get a lot of loot. But go a little bit deeper, and we think that there are some meaningful differences that mean this won't be just a Destiny clone.
We sure hope so.
Here they are. So Jane, Anthem is of course made by BioWare, who are best known for making which games?
Mass Effect, Dragon Age, all my favourites.
All your absolute favourites.
Yeah.
And why are they your favourites, Jane? What do BioWare
Story,
do?
characters,
Story,
romance,
yes.
people. They're human stories, Luke. About
hey,
human people
Hey, you don't have
in
to convince
fantastical
me.
worlds.
Wow, quite a lot of anger coming through there. We'll unpack those emotions later. The developers of Anthem themselves admit that those are things and emotions that are hard to conjure up in an online world because, of course, as soon as Dude Skull Crusher 420 XXX rocks up in your game, it's quite immersion breaking.
It's that tension between you being the super special hero of your own story and you being the one hero among many in an online world where
Yes.
you're all doing the same kind of thing.
Which is very much the case in Destiny. You are one of many guardians.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yes.
So BioWare has to get around that, and they do have a plan. It is called the Our World, My Story
My story.
system. Now, what this basically means is that when you are going out into the open world with other people and doing all the shooting and all the numbers are coming out, that is the stuff that involves other people. Then, when you've finished your mission, you go back to base, and then it basically is going to switch into a single-player game.
Yes, absolutely. So you're offline, kind of close the blinds, and then you're back in your own private little
Yeah.
BioWare
Retreat
story, which
into
is
yeah.
quite promising. It sounds so simple.
Yes.
Now that they say it, I'm like, yeah, I would like that. And in the gameplay demo presentation we just saw, when you're aboard the Strider, which is like your mobile forward operating base,
Yeah.
you've got your crew of, BioWare characters.
Lovable rogues.
Who we don't know yet, but I'm sure we're going to love eventually. And
could-
romance,
yeah.
2 or
Romance.
3 of?
Romance them super hard.
Yeah,
One would hope.
We've got plans. My concern about Anthem has been that I go to BioWare for, sounds a bit sappy, but for, human stories and for
It's not sappy at all. That's what they do well. They do it better than anyone else out
Yeah,
there.
but they've been leaning quite hard into like systems and, the mechanical stuff, i.e. cool flying
Yeah.
super suits.
Yeah.
And I am pleased to hear a little more about how BioWare thinks they are the people to finally crack the storytelling in a shared online world
Yes.
deal.
I think it's quite promising as well because when they were talking about it, what it made me realise was that actually the bits of Mass Effect, for example, that I remember are the stories, the narratives, the dialogue trees, and not necessarily the actual combat, which is very good and it's very fun, but it's not what you think of when you think of Mass Effect. So why not make that part of the game an online co-op shooter?
Because in Mass Effect Andromeda, for instance,
Right.
the story wasn't BioWare's best,
Yeah.
but for my money, the combat and the action and the way the boosters worked, you were boosting around, was really strong. So if they could bring me my Mass Effect 1 to 3 story and give me a little bit of Mass Effect Andromeda action.
Combat, yeah.
Maybe.
That could be good. Well, Jane,
Maybe.
speaking of action,
Okay.
so your javelins are all about destroying things, and at first, if you looked at this, you could believe that the gameplay is going to be very similar to Destiny, and in many ways I think it will be. However, what there seems to be a lot of in this is flying and aerial combat. Now, what we saw of Anthem last year, I was led to believe that flying was get from A to B, and then you land and do some shooty-shooty,
Do some
runny
runny,
gunny,
shooty, yeah.
hidey-hidey, more shooty-shooty. But having seen a bit more of the gameplay, it looks to me as if the flying is going to be
Yes.
part of the fighting. Do you think
Yes.
that's fair?
So in the gameplay demo presentation we just saw, the sort of crucible of combat, if you like.
I like
was
that
this
phrase.
I know.
Yeah.
Can I be a game developer yet? The verticality of the crucible of combat
Nice.
was divided across many tiers, Luke. Tiers.
Good.
And you use your flying javelin to hop around, to attack from the air, but also to select which part of the the battleground you're going to head for.
I really like the idea of being like a sort of Iron Man type hero who's flying and shooting. I don't know why, that gives me sort of like Rocketeer kind of vibes.
Yeah.
It just seems, Destiny has that thing where you do those like floaty double jumps.
Well, it depends which class you are
Oh,
in
yeah, that's true.
Destiny.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
everyone's got a little bit of flying in Destiny, but not
Yeah.
like full on straight up flying.
Full Iron Man. I
Yeah.
like the full Iron
Full
Man
Iron
flying.
Man, yeah.
That to me is promising. So here's something else that's a little bit different. In Destiny, and I think in most RPGs, at the beginning of the game you choose your class.
Right.
That's
and
the
it's very
standard.
stressful.
It is stressful because you don't know what they actually do yet.
No, you
It's
don't
like,
know if
yeah,
you want to be a
a mage or
vanguard.
a thief.
right.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
don't know. Leave me alone, you want to tell the game. Well,
But-
Anthem will leave you alone because, quite interestingly, the 4 different classes of javelins,
Yes.
which are Colossus, which is like
Interceptor.
a tank.
Yes.
Interceptor, which seems a bit like a sniper kind of class
Fast
to me.
and rangy.
Fast and rangy,
Yeah.
yeah. Ranger, which is a sort of all-round. And then Storm, which is like elemental. That looks like your mage sort
Yeah,
of
electro-shock and
electro-shock
frosty.
fighting, yeah. But what's interesting is that all players will have access to all 4 of those models. So the whole way through the game, you should be able to sort of swap class if you like. So if you fancy being a tank one day and then fancy being like the snipey glass cannon type class another day, you can just switch into a different suit.
Ostensibly, it's a science fiction world, of course.
It looks very
It's
sci-fi.
got robot exosuits.
Yeah.
But there's a strong flavour of fantasy to the lore
Yeah, I like that.
I appreciate.
What little we know about the world so far, we kept hearing this phrase like it's a world that was left unfinished by the gods.
The gods just went up and abandoned us.
Yeah, which to me sounds extremely high fantasy.
Yeah.
What I would really like to see
Yeah.
is Anthem leaning into the idea of mixing sci-fi and fantasy and
Sure.
saying like, yeah, no, because I think that would be really fun to
No,
to
they were
play.
actual gods.
Yeah,
and
to play in a world where it's like sci-fi and robots and exosuits, but it's also genuine magic and wizards and gods and angels and stuff like that. Don't you think that would be rad?
That would be rad.
Hmm.
I would put actual money on the Shapers, which is what they call the race of gods who have left their creation unfinished and abandoned it,
Yeah.
to be an ancient alien race.
And it's always an ancient alien race, though. I want it to be proper, full
Well,
Sauron.
I'm with you, Luke.
Sauron.
I hope, but I wouldn't bet. So,
Okay, all right. Well, fingers crossed for Sauron.
Fingers crossed for Sauron.
Fingers crossed for genuine Sauron making an appearance. This is another big promise from the makers of Anthem, and that is that missions will replay in a different way every time you do them.
It's quite the boast.
It is quite the boast. So one thing, and this wasn't necessarily a problem in Destiny, but when you replayed the raids, they tended to play out very much the same way each time.
That's how you knew what you were doing.
That's how you knew what you were
That's
doing.
how you got better at it.
Exactly, that's how you would grind it, that's how you'd get the best loot. What they are saying in this is that is that every time you go out into the world with your co-op pals, you'll get a slightly different experience, and while there's not a whole lot of detail on exactly how that'll play out, it sounds like there's just going to be a random element. So you don't know what kind of enemies you'll get, for example.
Well, yeah, they keep talking about how it's a shared dynamic world, so there's weather and seasons and times of day. I wonder if perhaps missions aren't time locked or weather locked, and you can go and experience the same mission but under new conditions.
Yep.
Something like that.
I mean, I think that would be kind of a thrill. I think that would be sort of nice to get a new perspective or to play the same mission for it to look different. I'd like it if it went a little bit deeper than that. Maybe, for example, if you do it in a storm, no one can fly in case you get struck by lightning and it shorts out all your circuits and you crash into the sea.
Yeah.
There we go. Write this down, EA.
To play devil's advocate
Yeah.
for just a moment,
Okay.
I never had to replay a mission in a Mass Effect game. You know what I'm saying? And maybe it's counter-immersive
Okay.
to ask players to play the same mission more than once. And
It
I
does break
understand
the
why
fiction,
you would
yeah.
do it. It gives you more value in that it gives you more, more stuff to do and more
Yeah.
time in the game world.
Yeah.
But depending on the nature of the mission, if the mission is like, okay, you've got to go on patrol, you're a freelancer, you've got to go on patrol, you've got to keep Tarsus safe,
Yeah.
then fine. But if it's like, we've got to go and do this critical, story crucial thing for the 9th time, it's going to lose a little bit of that immersion and a little bit of that impact. But we don't know exactly how that replayability works in those terms.
But I'm optimistic.
Having just come fresh from the gameplay demo of Anthem there, Luke, I couldn't help but notice the Storm Javelin
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and its elemental attacks, which made me think quite a lot of being a mage in Dragon Age, actually, because
Okay.
there were electrical attacks, like shocking attacks, and also icy, stormy, frosty, ice magey type attacks. And as someone who will always choose the magical class
You sure will.
in a fantasy game, in a fantasy RPG, I think I'm going to be going for the Storm
You're going for
Javelin as my suit of preference.
I would say that one thing that did make Anthem stand out a little bit, at least in the way that they're presenting it now,
Yes.
is it seems there's going to be a lot of focus not just on teamwork, but in specifically how you coordinate attacks. So one thing that they were talking about being
Right.
a huge deal is the idea of combos.
Yes.
So like attacks being exponentially more powerful if you pair them correctly with another javelin, another class of javelin or another kind of attack. And
So
I
the
think-
emphasis on that in Anthem is what you think is going to make the difference?
I think it could make a difference, yeah. There's obviously, in Destiny or in any team-based MMO, coordination and teamwork and communication are really important, but it looked like this was going an extra step beyond that and saying that you really need to think not just about making sure that no one falls off a ledge and that everyone's shooting the boss and the safe places to stand, but you need to be thinking about who's attacking when and chaining attacks sensibly, stuff like that. I like the idea that there's a little bit more to the combat, basically like a shade more RPG in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
In fact, there were certain of the Dragon Age games when you would use a certain attack and another of your party members, this is a single player game obviously, you would have another of your party members use a complementary attack, then you would get like a bonus, like a special combo effect from mixing together two different powers. And so I was pleased to see that represented here in Anthem.
that idea
Yeah.
made surviving. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's cool. All right, now for the massive caveats. So this is all based on stuff that BioWare has been saying about its own game. And actually, what we really need to see is loads more of that individual personalized BioWare story
give me
that they
it.
are promising. Yeah.
Where's my single player? We know it exists, BioWare.
we need
Show
the
it to us.
we need the dialogue options.
I want to see dialogue trees. I want to see romanceable characters.
I want decisions with massive game-changing
Yeah.
consequences.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. So that I feel is what's missing at the moment. That's what
Yeah,
that's what I really
where's
want
the
to
heart?
see. Yeah.
I've seen the brain.
Where's the heart?
Where's the
heart,
heart?
BioWare?
Yeah.
But I do feel like enough seeds have been planted to suggest that this could be a very different kind of game to be cautiously optimistic, I think.
Advise cautious
Yes.
optimism.
We advise cautious optimism. That's our
As a
official
rule, generally.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to see between now and the 22nd of February when the game comes out.
PC, PS4,
There is
Xbox
so
One.
much to see before we make our minds up, I suppose.
Let us know what you think about Anthem. Are you excited for it? Are you cautiously optimistic as well? Are you feeling less positive? We want to know what you guys think. So shout in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, then why not like and subscribe for loads more on Anthem and loads of other games, and check out the other stuff that we've been publishing at E3 from here. And thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.